All right. You know what it is. You know who it is.
Fucking hurt.
Had the
I
drum
just
roll
went so
going.
hard.
We are back with another episode of the BG Perform podcast with my co-host, Coach Jerry Hayes. Gerald, how we doing?
Dude, we're doing good. Sleepy this week. I don't know if it's the daylight savings catching up with me or what, but lifts have been really good. We're back on the weight gain train, so we're going to try and put on some mass in the next couple months. So programming changed a little bit, but having a lot of fun with it. Got a lift directly after this for some upper body, so I'm
Beautiful.
amped.
All right.
But just staying busy. How about you?
I've been tired too this week, but been had a lot of travel this weekend, and then got the half marathon on Sunday. So I'm happy to be finishing that up and making a little transition myself. Get some little less volume of running, and focus a little bit more on some jujitsu. Get back into some full lifting. Might get back into a little bit of CrossFit, just like once a
Okay.
week maybe. Just some like functional training, I guess we could call it. But I'm looking forward to it, so I think it's gonna be good.
That's nice. Are you looking to do like more like the classic WODs, like more circuit style, like heart rate driven, or are you doing like what's your goal with your CrossFit training?
Just to get back into it, I miss it. Just
Have
like
some fun.
yeah, just do some of the skills, get back into some of the gymnastics, even focus on like see how it feels on my shoulder, but even like some of the I don't think I'd do like full squat cleans or squat snatches, but things such like power snatches, power cleans, that sort of thing. And I think I'd really like to focus again on that because I do really feel like that when I was doing that like a very consistently, it was helping me a lot with my overall fitness. And I think that like CrossFit's something that's always just helps me with learning all these different skills. Like I credit a lot of my coaching career to CrossFit because it introduced me to like so many different aspects of fitness and like especially the conditioning and the skill work and the accessory work and
Mm-hmm.
tying all that together in like a full program. And I want to really get back into it because I think when I was doing it, I was at a completely different point in my life. And now like
Yeah.
with all the information and knowledge I have, I feel like I can really learn and take away a lot from it. And I'm excited about it. So I'm looking forward
Yeah,
to it.
dude,
But we got to get
CrossFit
through
done
this.
right can be really good.
Yeah.
Why
Gotta
don't
get
you
through
just
this
do high
half
rocks?
marathon first. Come on. Come on. Just
Dude,
up
my
in my
friend Dylan
alley.
just did a high rocks competition. He
I
goes,
saw.
dude, I'm so sick of it. He goes, if this thing wasn't in Mexico, I would quit. He was like, I just want to go to Mexico.
Well, I'm never going to be doing high rocks. I had a
Yeah, I don't blame you.
inkling for it like maybe 6 months ago. I texted Nick. I remember when I texted Nick. I was like, "Oh, we should do a high rocks competition." And then I was like, "Wait a second. I'm not.
Wait a second, I don't hate myself.
I don't hate myself." But yeah, so looking forward to it. But I'm about to hit this PR on the half marathon on Sunday.
Nice, nice,
Just
nice.
finishing the week off of training and then getting Dave's hot chicken after.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
Is that the
Hell.
Nashville one?
Hell yeah. No, that's Hattie B's.
Oh.
Dave's hot chicken is elite chicken though.
Where's it from originally?
Don't know.
It's all over the
I think
place. That's
Hollywood
why I wasn't
actually.
sure.
I think Hollywood, California.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but that shit's so good.
Better than Chick-fil-A?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Are you sure?
Oh, it's not even close.
All right, I'm gonna have to
Like
try it. And I'll
taste
make fun of
wise,
you if you're wrong.
I don't like spicy, and I usually don't get spicy. But taste wise, it's not even close.
Okay. Dave's
The
hot chicken.
fries,
I'm gonna have to remember that.
fries are elite. The
Let us
chicken
know in the
tender,
comments if Brandon's just spitting BS right now, or if are you team Chick-fil-A or are you team Dave's hot
well,
chicken?
but they're different though. I think Chick-fil-A is like a healthier version of like that stuff.
It's
Like
healthier.
I would say it's a little bit healthier than Dave's hot chicken.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, it's not like I wouldn't consider Chick-fil-A like a health food spot, but like
Yeah.
I think like they have some
It's like
options
In and
there.
Out versus Five Guys. Like In and Out's clearly healthier than Five Guys.
Yeah,
That type of deal.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But like Dave's hot chicken is so much like the chicken tenders are like this. First off, they're like this
Okay.
fucking long and this big,
So chicken breasts.
and they're like this thick, and they're you can get three of them with some honey. They give you pickles, bread, and the fries are just like the fries are like the elite fries. Like They have that little like coating on the outside.
Oh, were they almost
Yes.
like they can almost like scratch you?
Yes.
Yeah, dude. Red Wings at Frontier Field, the Red Wings Stadium, they have those fries, and those were
Yeah, those
forever my
fries are the
favorite
best.
fries.
But we're
Those are
talking about
elite.
fitness
Okay,
stuff here. We're talking about fitness stuff here.
you're right. You're right.
We're
Let's go
diving
into
off
it.
the track. So today we're going to be diving into youth training or S&C in regards to youth. And I think this is an important topic. We kind of dove into this a little bit on the last episode. We touched on it towards the end where we were talking about kind of like I guess a hot take that I had, which was that, I think to specialize in a sport, a lot of people have come to the argument that like you shouldn't specialize in a sport. And they basically come to the idea that like if you specialize in a sport, you're basically putting an athlete at a disadvantage long term. And while I do think that's true to a certain extent, I do think if you want to be the best at a given sport, you have to put as much time as possible into that sport. And because of that, I do think like a really good S&C program can cover a lot of those bases in regards to the aspect of like you need to do all these other sports, right? And I would argue that because there's so little investment in the S&C department and a lot of these like youth industries or sports or high schools or whatever, that the second aspect to that is like, oh well, I'll just play a bunch of sports, and yeah, that makes sense. But you know, in my opinion, a really good S&C program can make sure you're covering all your bases and give you everything you need to properly train and do the sport that you want to do. And I think today what I want to dive into a little bit is youth training, what that should look like, and just kind of give a little bit of an overview in regards to like our perspective on it. I know Jerry's had a little bit more experience, I believe, with the youth training than I have. I've dealt with a little bit of youth training, but not as much as like I have with any other sort of training. I know Jerry did a lot of it at the high school at Next Level in Rochester. So probably going to have him try to talk a little bit about from his perspective a lot today. But yeah, anything to add to that?
Not to that necessarily, but yeah, definitely. I've worked with a lot of different age groups, so I think like even really young, like I'd say the youngest is maybe 6 or 7, 8 years old, and then I've worked with like middle school, so elementary, middle school, high school, like basically all stages of development into college where people are still developing in some cases. So it's it's cool to see how strength and conditioning changes through those years.
Yeah. So I think just to even start, like, my experience with youth training is different in the fact that I've trained athletes at all levels, and I've had some youth athletes who were playing sports, but I've trained a couple youth athletes specifically for powerlifting. Um, and one particular athlete that I trained was this kid, Josh, who was, you know, someone who wasn't maybe the most athletic kid, but he was someone who still was, competing in a sport. I brought him to a powerlifting competition. He did awesome. But I think one of the things that I learned from this whole process was obviously like programming can't look the same for youth as it does for like an adult individual, right? And that was some of my first very early on experience of training a youth athlete. And I think from my experience, I tried to make it look like I would an adult, and in the beginning it just didn't really feel right, and I think that there's a lot of things that kind of go on there. And I had to do a lot of like stepping back and being like, okay, like what do I need? I had to do a lot of research. I had to kind of go look elsewhere for those answers, because I think when you start to dive into youth training, you're not developed, right? There's skills you don't have. Your nervous system's not 100% developed. Your mental capacity is not 100% there. So it's a little bit harder to deal with those sorts of things and deal with certain types of problems at certain points for training, right? Like there's going to be issues in regards to like dealing with certain movements or lifting certain loads, and it might not necessarily be um, you know where they're at in their training, and you need to understand that like in certain positions for children, they shouldn't be training certain, I guess, qualities of fitness. And if they are, it should be in a different light, or it shouldn't be, max effort strength and things like that. So, my experience early on was like exactly that, like a learning experience where it was like, hey, I'm trying what I know, but this doesn't feel right, and I have to make this work to one, because it's not, obviously adults, it's the same thing. You want to keep them engaged, but to a certain level. Whereas like kids don't really know much. They don't know better when they're in that setting, and you want to make sure they're engaged and getting the most out of the session. So you kind of have to structure it a certain way. You have to make certain rules. You have to kind of keep them engaged and keep them moving, and that's something you learn as you go. But anything on your end?
Yeah, the you mentioned that like obviously there are certain ages, like especially at the younger ages, strength and conditioning looks a lot different. Definitely when you're, I'd say up until like even 10 or 11, strength and conditioning is literally just play. Like sessions, group sessions are
Mm-hmm.
often the best way to go. You'll have uh, teams in there. So like if you're in strength and conditioning for athletes, you're gonna have full teams. So a lot of the times with some of the kids who are in that like 8 to 10 range, we'd be playing games the entire time. You'd start with a similar warm up, move, do the skips and stuff because a lot of it is not so much of a warm up for them, but it's more so figuring out how to move your body and getting them to become a little more coordinated.
Yeah.
That age is like super malleable. I think it was Mike Boyle. I don't know if he got it from somebody, but he basically said that like as we age, we become different types of meat. And as
Yeah.
kids, we're like filet mignon, and then we end up getting like to the New York strip sirloin, and then like way down the line we become beef jerky in our 80s. And like
Mm-hmm.
the idea is you want to stay as close to or as far away from beef jerky as you can. Like everything's just tight and stiff all the time. Those kids with the type of training that they're doing, they could literally just go outside, start doing it. They can run, jump, skip, all this stuff without like an intense warm up. So the warm up is more so designed to get them understanding coordination. Opposite hand and foot are skipping at the same time. Moving laterally, we're doing the same thing. Um, Learning how to stay upright in your torso and not wobble all around. So it's basically teaching kids how to use their core to drive movement with their limbs without losing the structure in their actual like torso. So I would say like up until that 10 or 11 mark, a lot of it is literally just play, it's games, it's coordination based stuff. And then obviously the conditioning part just comes with it cuz every kid loves to play and they get super competitive, especially if they're in sports.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think even just to kind of dive into the main topic, like, for me, when I look at youth training now, it's literally it's general qualities, right?
Mhm.
It's allowing kids, like you said, the opportunity to kind of learn how to move their body. And I think a mistake early on that gets, oftentimes, I guess, misused is like the strength portion. Like we want kids to be strong, but strong in it means a different thing when you're, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, as opposed to when you're 25, 26, 27, 28, right? And I
Mhm.
think when we dive into the youth aspect of training, we're talking about general movement patterns, we're talking about conditioning, even like in my notes I wrote down games, I wrote down communication. Like these are all things that need to be done inside of youth training to like effectively train them, right? So
Mhm.
we talk about general movement patterns, kind of like Jerry was diving into, learning how to use the opposite hand, opposite foot, learning how to, squat properly, how to hinge properly, how to move their spine in all the different directions, learning how to run a little bit more efficiently, learning how to change direction, learning how to absorb force, learning how to produce force, right? And these things seem very like out there in regards to like, because you would think if we're talking about general movement qualities in regards to youth, we'd be talking about the basic patterns, which we are too. Like when we talk about the general movement patterns, we're talking about push, pull, squat, hinge, core, carry, those sorts of things. Like we're still following those general principles. We're just not loading them up in a way that can be like detrimental because they don't have that capacity yet. They don't have the muscular endurance. They don't have or they probably have the muscular endurance, but they don't really have that absolute strength component to their nervous system that they could go and lift. Obviously, you know, 300 pounds or lift something that's actually going to give them that absolute strength. And also, like another thing that was really good that Jerry mentioned was like the skipping, the hopping, the running, the like all of these certain things. Like this is where you should take that time to basically like build up a base so that when they are able to follow a real program, they can fully maximize that program, right? And we've talked about this with general athletes or general clients, is like how many times is someone coming in and like you have to teach them all this stuff first before you can actually
Mm-hmm.
like get something done, right? Youth S&C should be basically the foundation to getting ready to complete like a high level S&C program when the time comes. So teaching them how to squat, teaching them to support load, teaching them to resist force, teaching them to create force, teaching them what's it feel like to, maintain certain positions, what's it feel like to actually lunge correctly and squat correctly and touch your toes, or bend at the spine versus bending at the hips, or rotating, or again, moving laterally, moving backwards, crawling, all these different patterns. Like you should basically be like exploring as much as
Mm-hmm.
you can with youth athletes and allowing them to explore and kind of answer questions through movement, because this is what actually like opens the door for them to say, and if we're talking about like a 12-year-old, like in a 3-year window to because actually maybe you might answer this better, like what age are these types of people actually like starting S&C?
It depends. Excuse me. It depends on the individual. Like I've worked with kids who once they hit like 11 or 12, we put them with some of the middle schoolers, because we would have basically the structure that we had at the gym at Next Level when I was there is we were working with the younger age groups in the team settings, and then individual. Uh, I'm sorry. We would work in team settings, but then we'd have small group training for middle school as well as high school.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these kids would be in like the 11, 12-year-old group for middle school, and they'd be performing really well and kind of excelling pretty quickly. So, like around 13, we'd throw them with high school even. But typically, there's a lot of variety in the kids that you get who are coming in around that 11, 12, 13, and 14. So, a big factor that determines where you're going to put them and the type of movements that you're giving them are how they're progressing in their actual physical development. Because you'll have some, like girls, obviously, they sprout up a little bit sooner. So for them, like the main thing for them is they tend to transition into some of these movements a little sooner than the guys. And the
Mm-hmm.
guys are just really competitive, so they want to. But
Yeah.
typically, what happens, even with the girls, is you'll see they start to develop into like a young teen. And when they do that, it's like they just got into like a megazord and they're just
Mm-hmm.
controlling something that isn't themselves. Like they move around like Bambi. It's like they forgot everything that they learned for a little bit and they have to relearn all these movements. Some kids don't lose it at all. They remember everything that you worked on when they were from 8 through 11.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they're 12, they get bigger, stronger, faster, and they're immediately jumping into things much sooner. But a lot of the time, you get these kids who, like, especially guys, they get really long legs first and then their torso grows. You have these kids who are just like, they walk funny, like they try to run and they're just like clopping around because their feet just grew like 3 sizes.
Inspect the gadget legs.
Yeah. He got the Inspector Gadget legs. Yeah, exactly. So they have all these. They're longer in their legs. Their feet are bigger. They feel like they're wearing clown shoes when they're running, and you could tell because they look uncomfortable. And some parents, they come to the coaches and they're like, "Listen, I don't know what's going on, but he does not know what he's doing anymore." It's like, yeah, give him a break, dude. He's just got a new
Yeah.
upgrade. He's
Yeah.
working with a whole new human suit.
Yeah.
So it entirely depends on their development, but ideally, once they get a hold of that, like around 12 is where we start to throw them into the middle school group for lifting weights and starting to add a little more resistance. But even so, when we do that, typically what you'll find is repetition is key. So with that age group, you don't even want to really go too heavy because the repetition, you're just drilling the motion
I was
over
gonna say,
and
because like
over
you
and
just
over.
explained, like someone
Yeah.
who's got essentially like, obviously we're exaggerating, but like, put clown shoes on somebody and then tell them to run, like
Yeah.
they're not going to be able to do that very well at first, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
as they do more reps, as Jerry was just saying, their body's going to adapt and they're going to be able
Hmm.
to do that better. So I think it's so important to realize that, like, and this is why high level strength training probably isn't the answer, but patterns in strength training are the answer. But keep going.
Hmm. Yeah, so I was gonna say even we've worked with our middle school groups in the past. Like I've worked with kids and they like we had like 12 and 13-year-olds doing barbell cleans, but they were like the lighter barbells. So for the
Hmm.
kids, they had the 35 pounders, but they were just doing repetitions over and over. So like typically if you're doing like a set and you're trying to work on power, you might be working in like the two, three, four, five, maybe six clean rep range. We'd be giving these kids like 8 to 10 reps because all we're doing is drilling the movement pattern more so than the actual power output and development in that sense.
Yeah.
So a lot of what we would do is simply like high repetition stuff, not to seek hypertrophy necessarily, because it's not exactly at that intensity. They'd be getting tired, but it's just to drill the movements over and over and over.
Yeah. And that's it. And like it's literally like, it's literally just showing them how to go through these ranges of motion, how to kind of, again, I think like the biggest thing in youth training and S&C, I think you and I maybe can both agree on this, is just allowing them to, like I said, answer questions about their body with movement,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because just like Jerry explained in that whole talk, your body's changing so rapidly, and what was the case yesterday probably isn't the case today, right? The
Mm-hmm.
way you walked up the stairs yesterday probably isn't going to be the way you walked up the stairs in 2 days. It's just like your body's changing at such a rapid rate. It's like, how many times would you wake up just sore when you were younger for no reason, and like you probably didn't even do anything. It's just from like, you know growing, literally just like
Yeah.
having those spurts, or you go through that growth phase in the summer where you go from like 3 to 4 inches taller than you were. It's like you're going to change. Everything's going to
Mm-hmm.
change about you, and you have to slowly adapt. And you know what was the case for a movement yesterday probably isn't going to work today. And that's why it's really important that until they're fully developed, you want them to be able to kind of like, again, play around, have questions, answer them, make mistakes, see what works for their body, so that when the time comes and it's like, hey, now it's time to get really strong, you can just go get strong because all the qualities are there. The muscular endurance is there, the base of support is there, the structural integrity is there, the
Mm-hmm.
muscular, like the literal muscular strength is like beginning to form, and you're able to get a lot more out of those sessions. And I think that like with youth training, another thing that we kind of like touched on is like make it a game, right? Like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of games are being played. Like if you look at anybody who like is very high level or does a lot of like youth training, there's a lot of games involved. It's very much like, you know, go through here as fast as you can, or collect the amount of things that you can get, or whatever else the structure of the game might be. It might be tug of war. It might be um, something as simple as like tag for a warm up. Like a lot of these things introduce movement and make the person kind of have to go through movement and think and do it in a certain way. So as a coach, you want to implement some of these tactics inside a game because it makes it fun. It makes the kids enjoyable. It gives them some drive. It gives them some external motivation as well as internal motivation. And it allows them to kind of just, I forgot what the exact term is, but it's like, you know, giving them an open-ended goal and having them just figure it out at that stage is really important. Like there is no
Mm-hmm.
exact answer of like, you have to, let's say, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good example, so I don't. But like, you got to accumulate a bunch of or you got something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you looking for like an example of like how a game translates to that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say like even something as simple as like decision making when you're tired,
yeah.
that type of stuff is huge. So what we would do is we would have um, we would have like a circle of cones, and I'd set one athlete on one side, one on the other, and they would basically take rounds of tag where you have to like shuffle around and try not to like cross your feet over essentially, and you're trying to catch the other person and making decisions to try and like catch them off guard. Sorry for the train. Um, as you're as you're trying to catch them off guard, they're trying to evade you. So you're not only learning change of direction, body coordination, but you're also decision making on how to like play the mental games of like faking somebody out. So even something as little as that.
Yeah. So I think that's it.
Yeah.
It's like allowing them to make decisions, make mistakes, have to fix it, have to kind of like go through that phase of competition and kind of like self-regulation through the process. And really, I think that's the most important thing. And I think, a lot of the mistakes that are made is they try to fit powerlifting programs or like college level S&C programs or even high school S&C programs into these youth athletes, and then they wonder why they don't feel good or they're not moving as well. They don't develop as quickly. Like you got to give these people, you got to give these kids room to move and room to kind of let themselves kind of feel out their body and learn what it takes to do certain things. And if you do that in the right way, you know, it's going to translate into success in regards to a program, and you're not going to have any problems, right? And I think even like for me to just kind of like dive into my hot take, like I just don't think it needs to be complicated, and I don't even think youth training needs to be more complicated than like, you know, because if we even look at it, like even sometimes for me, youth training would look like a warm up that I would have for like a full athlete. It's like you're going through some base support, you're going through some mobility drills, you're going through some hops and skips, then you're going through some plyometrics or ballistics, then maybe you're doing a little bit of strength at the end where it's like a basic pattern, like might be, you know, a goblet squat, or it might be like an RDL, or it might be some type of press or a pull, and that's it. And then like that's the session, right? You keep them moving, you keep the games fun, you keep them active, engaging, you get a little bit of a lift at the end to drive that muscle endurance and strength and hypertrophy, and you get them out, because that's the sort of thing where they're going to get a lot more from like a warm-up style piece where it's just getting the heart rate up, keep them moving, they're going to be engaged. Don't give them time to sit there and have their mind wander, and get them in, get them out, and then that's going to be a successful program. But anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think for my hot take, I will say that your traditional strength training really shouldn't start until like that 11 or 12 years old. Again, depending on how well they move. Like you said, like it's a lot of the same stuff that you would do in a warm up. So you'll have your plyos and stuff, and a lot of the games that you like, it's not just like, hey, let's play like leapfrog or
Of
hopscotch. Like
course. Yeah.
it's competitive style games. So when we say games, we mean like there might be a reaction based game. Like one of my favorite ones to give to like younger kids is you do like a band reaction drill. You have them both sit on their knees with their laces down, hands behind their back. There's a band in between them, like a mini band. And you're just walking around. You say, look at the band, don't look at me. You're walking around them, and then you clap. As soon as you clap, they have to try and reach for it faster than the other person.
Yeah.
Reaction, speed, all that stuff, response and timing. You're training the brain more than the body in something like that, but it's going to help them understand how to be responsive when they need to be responsive, and not just like be all high alert all the time. So you can stay relaxed and then act when you need to act. Other games like puzzle based games, even like the floor is lava, get two teams of like 10. If it's a 20-person team, have them have a foam roller, a foam block, stool, Bosu ball, whatever's in the gym, and you just have them try to get across a certain distance without touching the floor. Everyone needs to make it across with all the pieces. So like stuff like that, where you're having them focus a lot on the mental stuff, is just as important as the physical stuff.
Yeah.
Hot take is that weights don't even need to be introduced until middle school.
Yeah.
I think that most of the training could just be games, maybe some
And
speed
body
stuff.
weight.
You could do plyos, body weight stuff, and like you can still introduce plyometrics like med ball shot put, chest press, or med ball chest press, pass words, and other stuff like that. But a lot of it will be games. And my hot take is that it should just be.
I think it's a
fun
really
for
good
them.
one. Honestly, I think, like I said,
It's essentially
you know,
PE. That's what strength and conditioning is for youth, is PE.
yeah. And I think like I personally think like introducing the skills are important, and that's why I kind of threw in like the body weight stuff at the end, like the air squat, the push up, pull up. Like if you can get them doing that stuff early on, you know, like that's crucial, right? And that's just like, again, building the foundation to be able to do the real stuff that's going to get you like stronger, faster, that sort of thing.
You get a group of 11-year-old guys to do a tall plank, making a circle with all their heads in the center, and you do a push up, and then the next person push up, push up, push up, push up, push up.
Yeah.
You will see some serious grit, and they will start to understand like, okay, this is fun in the gym, but I also know what it's like to work. So there's a nice little mix. It's cool.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think for me, you know, like this might be a little bit of a shorter episode, but I just think like in regards to everything we're talking about today, like I said, the biggest thing is just to kind of, summarize it, is like to train them effectively. You want them to think, you want them to be able to kind of go through that thought process of like, I want to move my body like this, but right now it might not move as perfectly as I want because again, with us, right, as we're developed, it's a lot easier to say, "Oh, I want a bottle. I'm going to go grab it, drink it," right?
Mhm.
As easy as it seems, it's like as someone whose body's changing, it's like it might take another second to like think about that and move their arm and like go through that whole process of like, I got to move weight from left to right. I got to move myself from front to back, top to bottom, that sort of thing. And we have to really actually take that into consideration because it's not just as simple as we might think. Like in theory, yes, it's simple, like, move this way. But when your body's changing at such a rapid rate, it's really important, like we said, to kind of give them that time to progress through it. And then with games, again, it's just the idea of like, think about it, have to move at a certain pace, get that reaction time under pressure and fatigue, and then learn those basic skills. And all of that should be in there. And then when the time comes, a real strength program. But what were you laughing at?
I was laughing because you were like, it's gonna take him a second to like reach for the water, and I immediately thought of, I don't know if you remember like the days of puberty, like when you found out you're getting stronger. Like you just go
Hmm.
to pick up the couch and you're like, I could do it. You just did it anyway. Or like you just start banging out push-ups and you're like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
I thought of the Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield. He wakes up and just smashes the alarm clock, and then he breaks the sink faucet. Like
Hmm.
little things like that. It's like at the same time that they're figuring it out, they're also figuring out like, okay, wait a second, this is like new to me. I'm strong now for some reason.
Yeah.
So that's also a fun thing. But
Yeah.
another thing I wanted to add is obviously like youth includes high school,
Hmm.
and once you get to the high school, it's pretty standard. They're going to be doing your classic strength and conditioning programs. I will say, hot take number 2 for the episode.
Wow.
It's not a hot shit, but it's a number 2. It's going to be it's number 2. It's going to be that most, if not all, high school kids should be on a full body program multiple days a week because again, repetition's key. They just got this like new megazord body, right? Like they're bigger, they're stronger, they're figuring it out. And once they get that refined and they can move, the more times during the week that you can visit an upper push or pull or a lower
Yeah.
push, lower
Yeah.
pull,
More
all that stuff is
consistency.
so important. I'd say a full body program for your high school athletes and college, honestly, is probably going to be what's best. And then you can start to see a little more individualization once you get to college. But for high school, really, really important to nail all these movement patterns multiple times a week.
Yeah, 100%. That's a
Yeah.
really good point to throw in there. So I definitely agree with that. But influence pick, you want to shoot it to him?
Yeah. So influence pick, I couldn't think of. Oh, good, it closed. Let me go ahead and grab that again. I couldn't think of a better influence pick for today than to shout out my OG strength and conditioning boss at Next Level, Nate Van Cowenberg, functional strength training for physical education. So he's been doing this for years. He's a PE teacher. He's a strength and conditioning coach. He's worked with all ages from youth through professional for many years. I've learned a lot of what I know from him and the other coaches over there, and I owe him a lot of thanks for the knowledge that I do have. So I just wanted to shout him out, Nate Van
We can throw the
Cowenberg.
link in the bottom if you
Yeah,
send it.
I can send the link to you, but link in the bottom of the episode. That's you'll learn a lot from that book for sure. So
Awesome.
give that a read.
Yeah, I think that's it for me. Anything else
Cool.
you want to add on top of that?
Parents, it's not going to stunt their growth. It's not going to make them more susceptible to injury. It's actually going to do the opposite for both.
Yep.
Lifting weights is very important for the youth. It's going to make them strong and more resilient. It's going to help to build movement patterns. It's not going to stunt their growth. Again, they will develop. How many people do you know who are in high school who are 6'5" at this day because they started training early? It's actually going to promote growth.
Yeah.
Human growth hormone develops when you start training and do resistance training. So it's very important to know to push your children toward this type of stuff. It's not going to
Actually, I'm
hurt
gonna add
them.
one more
It's a
thing
myth.
too. I'm gonna add one more
Go
thing
for
too
it.
on top of that. I think overall we talk about youth athletics, but there's a very small percentage of the youth that actually get to like the pro level. And it's not to say like not to ignore it, but teach them skills that they can take with them for the rest of their life. Teach
Yes.
them skills that they can actually learn how to be fit, learn how to manage themselves in the gym, how to take care of themselves, and that's really important early on. So having them follow a real serious program is going to keep that. And because how many people do you know? You know, I see it all the time where you see the dad in the gym. Oh, back in my day, I used to bench 365, and it's like, okay, well, you haven't in 20 years. Like, why is that,
Yeah.
right? And I think it's because a lot of these programs are just so unsustainable, and they're only worried about performance at the end of the day. But like,
Hmm.
teach these kids real things. Like teach them how to clean up the weights, teach them how to put the weight on, keep themselves safe, how to get to the gym consistently, how to manage all the stress that goes along with training and school and work and all that stuff. Teach them how to actually fit this into their life as a lifestyle, because you know, not to say that like adults are a lost cause at this point, but like we're a country of massive obesity problems, and like teaching the youth how to keep fitness in their life beyond the aspect of like, oh, I just want to perform for this sport is so important right now. So I
Hmm.
think that like any aspect of training on top, like obviously like the fundamental thing should be like stay fit, stay moving, and then athletics, and then kind of building performance. And so I think that's another huge piece that a lot of people miss out on, and I think should be taught a little bit more. But I think that's it for me. I think that's it for Gerald.
Hmm.
A little
Hmm.
bit of a shorter episode today, but we got to the point pretty quick. I always appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you do want to work with myself or Jerry, if you want your kid to be strong and fast and
Be an absolute
hopefully
unit.
better looking, um,
What?
reach out to us at www.bgperform.com/training, or you can reach out to Jerry on at Coach Jerry Hayes on Instagram, or myself at bgperform_. Check out the free ebook. We got the www.bgperform.com/goals. It's my free ebook guide on choosing a worthy goal, basically like how to use the fight camp framework to do that, as well as what was the other thing? There's one more thing.
Coaching audit.
Oh, yearly coaching audit. So we got the yearly coaching audit. That's going to be on the link of the last 3 videos plus this one. Check that out. It's November. It's already the second week of November. I told you it's going to go by fast. Eventually it's going to be December. Eventually it's going to be 2026. And you're going to be like, where the hell did the time go? So go answer those 11 questions to make sure your coaching practice is moving in the right direction. And I appreciate you guys. And we will see you guys next time.